what we've got here is a sample of a stopped housing, and we want to reproduce what we've got here on our piece of timber, making sure that the depths and the cut ends are exactly the right measurements and flush to the faces there. So on our piece of timber, we're going to grab a ruler and measure in. We can come in any distance here because it's just a sample, and we're going to come in 50 mil, place a pencil line on there, and just grabbing a tri-square and running a line straight across that line, right across the face. And then we're going to put another line, making sure that it actually matches with the face one as well, making sure that there's no step there. And then we're going to place a timber on that line and just making sure that it's exactly on that line, and put a little mark right in the corner there, and that's going to be the width of our stopped halving. And then placing a tri-square up against that line and just running it straight through across the face and down along the side there. Using a marking gauge, we're going to set this to 10 mil, tighten up the marking gauge, making sure that it is tight and it's not going to slip. Placing the marking gauge up against the edge there and just running it right across that line, not past the line, and then just getting a pencil, just running it in there so we can see it. Once we've marked that 10 mil, we're going to come down 6 mil on the edge there. That's the depth of our stopped housing. And we'll just get the marking gauge, run a line through from one point to the next, and then just put a pencil line in there so you can see it. So what we want to do now is actually cut out a section where the stopped housing is going. We need to get a chisel and make sure that the chisel, we've marked our little square, we're going to cut out that square down 6 mil. And that's going to make it easier for when we go to use the tenon saw. So place the chisel just inside the line and do the same thing on the other side, just inside the line, give it a bit of a knock, making sure that you don't go past those lines. And then do the same thing on the top edge as well, but this time be careful not to knock it too hard because you could split the timber. Just hand pressure on there, push it in. Just make sure that those corners meet right in the corner there. Otherwise they'll chip out onto the face of the timber. And do the same thing on the other side. Making sure you use hand pressure along the grain. Just ease it into the timber. Making sure those corners actually match up. Once you've done that, you can simply get the chisel and chisel a section or a small part of it out, about 2 or 3 mil deep, and then come from the other side and do the same thing again. And we keep doing that until we get to our depth of 6 mil, making sure that you clean up the corners and there's no sharp bits of timber in the corners there. And so we've almost got to the 6 mil there. Just got to make sure that you get it as best you can. Get a ruler if you're not sure the depth. Once you get to the 6 mil, then you can get a tenon saw and just put it into that little hole there and start from the corner and just work along the line until you get to the 6 mil line to that edge. Just take your time, work along there till you get to that point of 6 mil. Don't go past it. Just take your time there and do the same thing on the other side. Then using a chisel again, come about halfway and just chisel through into the timber, slightly in upward directions toward the centre, working right into the groove now. Put the chisel right in there and chisel slightly up. Once you've done that, then you can start pairing off straight across into that hole that you made of 6mm, making sure that it's 6mm right across the piece of timber. Any bits that are left in the corner there, just pull them off. We're going to make a cutout of 6mm, place the ruler against the timber, mark out 6mm, and then using a tri-square, just run that pencil line across the square there, and the same thing on the edge, making sure that those lines match up with one another, that there's no step, and the same thing on the other side as well. Making sure that they're all spot on. And then measure 10mm in. And again, we use a tri-square, making sure that all the marks that we make are exactly square. So just place that carefully along that line, measure across there and across along the top as well, and down across the side as on the same as the other side. Always use a tri-square, never try to do anything marking out freehand. Place that into the vise. Just use a small bead saw, and again start from the corner on an angle on the top and just work along the line until you reach the bottom of that line. So just take it easy, don't tighten your hand on the handle too much on the bead saw. Just take your time, just check to see whether you've got to that line. Once you've got to that point there, then you can cut the other side. Place it up the other way. Never try to use the saw on an angle or cut horizontal. Always cut down vertical if you can. Place it in the corner. Just work along that line straight to the corner, and out it comes. Place the piece of timber in there, make sure it fits, make sure it's flush to the front and there's no gap in the back, and that's our finished stopped housing.